November 13th, 2022. A quiet college town wakes up to an unthinkable nightmare. Four bright University of Idaho students, Ethan Chapin, Xana Kernadle, Madison Mogan, and Kaylee Goncalves, were brutally murdered inside an off-campus house in Moscow, Idaho. The crime was so gruesome, so shocking, that it made national headlines within hours. For weeks, the community lived in fear. Who could have committed such a brutal act? Was it someone close to the victims? Or was a stranger stalking the college town in silence? Fast forward to December 30th, 2022. An arrest shocks the nation. Bryan Kohberger, a 28-year-old PhD student studying criminology at Washington State University, just a short drive away from the University of Idaho, is taken into custody. Since then, the case has become one of the most closely watched criminal trials in recent U.S. history. Every update, every court hearing, every piece of evidence fuels heated debates, online speculation, and media frenzy. And now, as the trial approaches, new details are emerging that could change the trajectory of this case. From DNA evidence to cell phone tracking, from defense strategies to prosecution surprises, the Idaho College Murders remain a haunting mystery that grips America. In this video, we'll break down the entire story. The timeline of the crime, who Bryan Kohberger is, what the evidence reveals, how the victims are remembered, and the latest updates from the courtroom. Stay tuned until the end, because this case is far from over, and the truth may be darker than anyone expected. It was just another Saturday night in Moscow, Idaho. The University of Idaho campus was alive with the energy of fall semester. For many students, it was a chance to relax after exams, hang out with friends, and enjoy the college nightlife. The victims, Madison, Kaylee, Xana, and Ethan, were all part of that vibrant student life. Madison and Kaylee had been best friends since childhood. They were inseparable, even choosing to attend the same university. That night, the two girls spent their evening at a local bar called the Corner Club. Around 1:30 a.m., surveillance footage captured them ordering food at a food truck before heading home. Meanwhile, Xana and her boyfriend Ethan attended a fraternity party at the Sigma Chi House, just a short walk away. They returned home sometime around 1:45 a.m. By 2 a.m., all four were back inside the off-campus rental house located at 1122 King Road, a three-story building that had become a popular student residence. Two other roommates were also inside the house that night, but their lives would be spared. Sometime between 4 a.m. and 4:25 a.m., the killer entered the home. According to police reports, the intruder used a knife to brutally attack the victims while they slept. The assault was so violent that investigators later described it as one of the most disturbing crime scenes they had ever encountered. One of the surviving roommates later told investigators that she awoke around 4 a.m. to what sounded like crying. She opened her bedroom door and saw a masked figure dressed in black leaving through the sliding glass door. She froze in shock and locked herself in her room. It wasn't until nearly noon the next day that 911 was called. The surviving roommates believed their friends were simply unconscious. When police arrived, the reality became horrifyingly clear. For young lives were gone, and a killer was on the loose. In the days following the murders, the entire town of Moscow was gripped by fear. The killer hadn't been caught, and police remained tight-lipped about the investigation. Students were told to remain cautious. Many left town early, choosing to spend time at home with family rather than risk staying on campus. Parents demanded answers. For weeks, the police offered little detail, citing the integrity of the investigation. Speculation ran wild. Was this a targeted attack? Could it have been random? Was the killer still among them? On social media, amateur sleuths dissected every possible angle. Rumors spread like wildfire, often targeting innocent people in the process. But behind the scenes, investigators were quietly building a case. On December 30th, 2022, a shocking arrest was announced. Bryan Christopher Kohberger, a 28-year-old PhD student in criminology at Washington State University, had been taken into custody at his parents' home in Pennsylvania. Who was this man, and how did he end up as the prime suspect in one of the most disturbing murder cases in recent memory? Bryan grew up in Pennsylvania, described by classmates as socially awkward, sometimes bullied for his weight, but later becoming intensely focused on fitness and academics. He earned degrees in psychology and criminology, eventually enrolling in Washington State University's PhD program just a few miles away from the University of Idaho. Kohberger's academic focus? Criminal behavior, deviance, and forensic psychology. In fact, just months before the murders, he had conducted a research survey asking criminals about their emotions and thought processes during crimes. To many, the arrest seemed like something out of a horror movie. A criminology student accused of carrying out the very crimes he was studying. But the question remained, what evidence tied him to the murders? The probable cause affidavit released in January 2023 revealed chilling details about how investigators linked Kohberger to the crime. First, surveillance footage captured a white Hyundai Elantra near the crime scene around the time of the murders. Police traced the car to Kohberger, who owned the same model. Second, cell phone data showed that Kohberger's phone had pinged near the King Roadhouse multiple times in the months before the murders. Prosecutors argued this indicated stalking behavior. But perhaps the most damning piece of evidence was DNA. On a knife sheath left at the crime scene, investigators found a single male DNA sample. That DNA was later matched to Kohberger through genealogical tracing and a direct swab after his arrest. Still, the defense has pushed back. They argue the DNA evidence may have been contaminated, that cell phone tracking is unreliable, and that the case is circumstantial. Kohberger has maintained his innocence, pleading not guilty to all charges. While the case has drawn enormous attention, at its heart are 4 young lives taken far too soon. Ethan Chapin was just 20 years old, known for his infectious smile and love for sports. He was a triplet, deeply loved by his siblings and parents. Zana Kernadel, 20, was remembered as a caring and adventurous spirit. She worked at a local restaurant while studying at the university. Madison Mogan, 21, was described as confident, bright, and ambitious. Her bond with Kaylee was legendary. The two were like sisters. And Kaylee Goncalves, 21, had a big personality and even bigger dreams. She had recently adopted a dog and was preparing to move after graduation. For their families, the pain is immeasurable. Candlelight vigils, tributes, and scholarships have been created in their honor. This case is not just about evidence in courtrooms. It's about justice for 4 lives cut tragically short. Since Kohberger's arrest, the case has gone through multiple legal proceedings. His defense team, led by public defender and Taylor, has aggressively challenged the prosecution. They've filed motions to dismiss the indictment, questioned the validity of the grand jury, and pushed for the trial to be moved out of Latah County due to media influence. The defense has also raised questions about the DNA evidence. In one filing, they argued that investigators may have used controversial forensic genealogy techniques without proper warrants. Meanwhile, the prosecution has maintained confidence in their case. They insist the evidence, from surveillance footage to cell phone tracking to DNA, forms a strong narrative linking Kohberger to the crime. The trial has been delayed multiple times, partly due to the enormous amount of evidence and partly due to legal back and forth. As of now, the trial is expected to be one of the most closely followed in recent memory, drawing comparisons to cases like O.J. Simpson and Ted Bundy. So, what comes next in the Idaho College Murders case? If convicted, Bryan Kohberger could face life in prison, or even the death penalty, which Idaho still permits. The prosecution has not yet confirmed whether they will pursue capital punishment, but many expect it. The defense is preparing to fight every angle, from challenging DNA science to questioning police procedures. For the victims' families, the wait for justice continues. For the nation, the case remains both a mystery and a chilling reminder of how fragile life can be. The Idaho College Murders shocked America not only because of their brutality, but because they shattered the sense of safety in a small college town. Bryan Kohberger's trial will determine whether the evidence is strong enough to prove his guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. But until then, he remains legally innocent, and the truth of what happened that night rests in the balance. For the victims' families, justice cannot come soon enough. For the rest of us, the case serves as a haunting reminder. Evil can exist anywhere, even in places we least expect. This story is far from over, and as new details emerge, we'll be here to bring you the latest updates. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss future updates on this ongoing case. Until next time, stay safe, and remember to look out for one another.